Hi guys, this is Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica, and we've got some time on our hands, so we are going to answer some questions that are in the comment section. Today we're going to answer some questions that I thought brought up some interesting points about value systems in fitness. I had a comment, and the comment was, so the gentleman asked, why don't kettlebellers look like what he thinks they should look like? Why don't they look like male fitness models? And that's an interesting question and a legitimate question. So there are some kettlebell guys who do look like fitness models or closer to fitness models, but they do a certain type of kettlebelling, and we'll talk about that in a different video. For the most part, guys who look good do monster lifts, which are a combination of 3 or more of the basics put together in different ways. And we're gonna make a whole video about monster lifts, and we will make a whole video about monster lifts in the future. For the most part, kettlebell competition guys look like kettlebell competition guys. The point of kettlebell competition is to lift a weight in a certain way for a 10-minute period of time. It's very unique in the fact that the weight is usually relatively heavy. So competition weight is 32K, it could be 24K or 32K. Normal competition weight is 32K, which is 70 pounds. And if you're doing, say, jerk, you're lifting 2 70-pound weights overhead non-stop for 10 minutes. So they're lifting 140 some pounds overhead from shoulder to overhead, and they're doing that 20 times a minute for 10 minutes. It's kind of like a normal number. So think about lifting 144 pounds overhead 200 times in 10 minutes. It's nuts. It's incredibly hard. I haven't trained that way in 10 years because I have other types of training I need to do, but it is absolutely savage. The point is that people who are athletes tend to become efficient at the sport at which they are trying to compete in. In order to do bodybuilding, you have to be kind of inefficient at certain things, or you have to change things in such a way in order to make your body have a specific response, get either bigger or change vascularity. There's all this stuff. There's all kinds of crazy science to it. For the most part, kettlebellers aren't doing those things. They're not lifting weights for sets of 8 and then doing 4 sets of 8 and then doing 4 exercises or something like that, right? There's a billion bodybuilding protocols. We're not going to talk about them. Kettlebells is getting super good at a series of things. In the beginning, when you first start learning kettlebells, you'll get super ripped because it's very heavy weight. There's a lot of cross-body stabilization in the beginning for about the first 3 years. And then as you get better, you get more efficient. Your body starts to normalize load. And that's good. That's what you want. That's when that thing can become a permanent adaptation. The point of most athletics is not actually to be ripped. It is to be athletic, and there is a difference. People who are trying to train to be ripped are doing that for a visual reason. They want to look ripped. People who are athletes want to do their sport better. Whether or not, it doesn't matter how they end up looking as long as they get better at their sport. CrossFitters are not bodybuilders. They don't look like bodybuilders, and that's not the point of CrossFit. The point of CrossFit is to do the workout better. Is to get stronger, move better, run faster, do all these things. Are they ripped? Yes, but they are not bodybuilder ripped, they are athletic ripped, and they're different things. You can end up ripped this way, but that's not kind of the point. I have a client and she's a collegiate rower. The point of her sport is not to have the best abs, the point of her sport is to win the race. Eat good food, train. If they do their training program and they eat good food, then it doesn't really matter what they end up looking like. I'm gonna use a film analogy because I work in film and I know a lot about it. Stunt guys do not train to be ripped. They train to do stunts. So they train to do many different types of martial arts, very good. They train to hide their face from the camera. They don't want to be huge bodybuilders for the most part. There are a couple of guys who fill that specific niche. But for the most part, their job is to look like normal people, but to be super fit. And so stunt guys will train for, I've seen stunt guys train for 4 hours a day. But their program is not about looking how people think that they should look. Their program is learning everything about judo, learning how to fall, doing backflips, landing inside of things. Their point is a very specific athletic outcome. Their goal is to get better at the athletic outcome. How they look doesn't matter because it's not their job to look good, it's their job to be a bad guy and fall down. We have to think about these things in certain ways. What do we value and why do we value it? I personally don't do anything that's intentionally about physique. And I haven't done it in like 15 years because I don't get paid to be pretty. I get paid to write programs. So what I do is I go out and I do a bunch of different types of training and I work on it. I figure out how it's designed, what is the point of it, how it works, how to implement it. Does it matter to me or my clients? And then we take what we need and we get rid of everything else. It's classic Bruce Lee. Take what you need, get rid of everything else. Philosophy. If you're 15 years into training and the only point is to be ripped, then I don't know what you're doing. Maybe you're a bodybuilding trainer and your job is to train people for bodybuilding. For the most part, that's not my job. And I don't really care about that much. So I don't value it. Other people do value it. My job is to figure out how to make people better at certain things, and that's what I do. I rip things apart and I engineer them. I train for an hour a day, minimum. I think I did 2 hours and 20 minutes today. Not a single bit of it was about looking good. We did an hour of aerial, which was about not dying and learning increasingly complex movements over time. And then we did 22 minutes of hydrocore, and we did 60 minutes on the clock of mace. Mace is about, in my mind, increased complexity forever with levers. It makes people move better for martial arts. It teaches them how to load differently. So we worked on that. None of that is designed to make you look good. Will you be healthy and look good? Sure. But did we spend 10 minutes doing shoulder cap? No. And we're not going to unless somebody is paying us to look a certain way. So looking good is not the most important thing in training. It's an after effect of training. Some people train specifically to look good, and that's totally fine. You can totally do that. Fitness competitors, whatever. The most important thing that you could do would be to learn skills, because you're going to be alive for a very long time probably, and learning skills makes your life interesting. I do aerial because it's fun and it's interesting. I'm not super great at it. I've never been super great at it. If I had an aerial show where I had to wear a specific outfit, then I would put in some training in order to be pretty, because that would be part of the job. If it's not part of the job, then I'm not going to do it because I just don't care that much. To sum this up, the point of athletics is to meet a goal or to do something, to learn a skill and to get better at it over time. Looking good is not the main point of the training, or it shouldn't be, because that's boring. And if you're gonna get old, it's gonna be boring. You can't just do bodybuilding forever unless that's your job. If your job is bodybuilding, then make that your job. If your job is not bodybuilding, then I don't know why that's a point. Work out, eat good food, learn a skill. However you end up looking, you're gonna end up looking. When you learn one skill, go ahead and learn every other skill you can think of. I personally love club bells, and I'm not done with them yet after 10 years because I can still find new things to learn, new things to work on, and new ways to work on them. I love kettlebells because the same thing is true. They are inexpensive, they're infinitely variable, and they're easy things for people to train in small spaces. If you want to do a section of bodybuilding and then you can do a section of kettlebelling, that's great. But you don't just have to do one or the other. You can do it however you want. But make sure you understand what the point of what you're doing is and understand why do you value what you value. This has been Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica.